people have tried to put you in this box, and you're like, no, I'm more than that. I can be the smart person, but I can also be like the sexy person, but I can also be like the lit person, or I can also be quiet, but I can also talk a lot. But you know what I mean? And it feels a lot of times society wants to box you in to be this one particular thing. Like, it's not what he's about. And then lo and behold, he's like, yeah, I did ask Will for permission. I said, wait, what? I feel like it reflected poorly on August because he didn't have that icon status. He wasn't as high level as that whole family is. And nobody understood the dynamic of the relationship.
But she ain't never seen the world up. She a wanderlust, but she ain't never seen the world up.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Funmi-Layo. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like this video because it helps other people see it, and make sure to subscribe because we have awesome content on this channel. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction to the August Alsina and Angela Yee interview, as well as a reaction to August Alsina's documentary. So yeah, so to start off with, I thought the documentary was so good. First off, I love August. Like, I really love that man. I'm a huge fan is what I mean. And he just, I don't know, something about him. I really like him. And I went to one of his concerts when I was in college, and he's a dope performer. The voice is just dope. Like, you know, everything about him I really like. And I liked his story. And when I would watch his interviews with like the Breakfast Club and everything like that, I like how his sensitivity just showed, and like he's been through so much. And I was just like, oh man, I'd love to have a conversation with him, you know, and just talk to him. He just seemed dope, you feel me? So anyways, yes, watching the documentary, I thought that it was very reflective of his situation and his upbringing, his life. It really showed the different things that he had to encounter and just how tough he had it in New Orleans. First off, those accents, bruh, oh my goodness, I love it so much, honestly. I love how he talked. But yes, like him showing his family and showing what happened to his brother and his sister. And I felt so bad because it's like, wow, like they both died, and then now he has an autoimmune disease now that he's battling. And he was just talking about in the Angela Yee interview that I can't remember whether he said he didn't tell them or he had waited to tell his sister's kids that he takes care of now, because it just seems like death is pursuing their family, and it sucks. It really sucks. And I just feel so bad for him because that man has had it tough. That man has had it tough, and he still pushes on, and he's still like singing and following his passion and helping people out in the process. And just when he was describing the fact that his mom and the man that she was dealing with, her boyfriend at the time, I guess he was a crackhead, how he used to sell the stuff, them fighting, you know, it just wild stuff. I would really say watch that documentary because it really shed so much light on his upbringing and things he had to go through, and just watching him interact with his family members. And it showed him just going through stages of his disease, and like at one point, not disease, but well, yeah, I think it is, or his autoimmune condition. And at one point in the documentary, you can see his face just so swollen. But anyways, fast forward to the Angela Yee interview. I loved it. I thought it was such a good interview. He just was speaking so much. He was literally connecting with my soul. I will be honest. He was like, I'm like, yo, we're kindred spirits in a way, because he was talking about people can only meet you where they have met themselves, you know, and just talking about in terms of whether he had held any sort of resentment for his mother because she wasn't able to give him what he wanted from her, and the reality being that she was just doing the best that she could do. And you know, people can only meet you where they've met themselves, and I feel like that is just so key just in life and in general. You know, people can only give you what they've got, you know. And so that's why you constantly hear people talking about that saying that you're not asking for anything wrong, you're just asking the wrong person. So we need to just be mindful about that. I thought that was dope. And then he was also talking about like how it seems like this period, he named this the documentary A State of Emergency, and so it's emerge and the letter N and then C. So he said he named it that before we were in a state of emergency, and it just kind of aligned. And I thought that was pretty dope. And just saying how a lot of people, and a lot of Black people just in general at this time, it seems like we're all looking for permission. Like he made this to kind of help people find their healing and give them permission, like, you know, to seek their healing and to seek their freedom. He said a lot of us are looking for permission to seek what we want, to go after what we want, whether that be healing or happiness. We're looking for somebody to say, like, it's okay to, you know, express your truth. It's okay to be who you want to be. It's okay to just be you, do you, and just ride your own wave. And that's why that's one of the reasons I really like August, because it's like from the start, it was just because because he's very attractive, but it was also like his attitude and his the way he would talk, even in his beginning interviews, you know. But now you can see, literally you can see a shift. You can see, if you watch his old interviews versus now, you can see that shift in August. And it's beautiful from the start to the finish, because I liked him in the beginning anyways. But yeah, I like that about him. But moving on back onto the subject, it's just that he is very free-spirited in the way that he presents himself. As you've seen him go through his career, you see him be a little bit more experimental style-wise, as well as, you know, with his hair, the type of clothes he wears, all of that. And I just like that. I'm drawn to people who are not afraid to be themselves. I'm drawn to people who just seem like I could give 2 Fs. Those are the type of people I like. Those are the type of people like I'm drawn to, and I look at like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Like, I want to be like you. They just attract me because it inspires me. That's why I love Rihanna, because she just like, yo, I'm here, what's up? Like, I like that type of energy. And especially like with August, and he's just like, yeah, this me, da 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 da. And then him still being that person that he was at the start, but now doing it with all his like creativity and everything like that. And I'm like, yes, go for it. You know, don't feel like you have to stay in a box. And he talked about that. And I used to say this even when I was in freaking middle school or little high, or even high school. I would always say how people want to put you in a box and say you have to be this one thing, but you can be whatever you want to be, and you can be so much more. And I feel like everybody can relate to that. I feel like at a point in everybody's life, there's been a situation where people have tried to put you in this box, and you're like, no, I'm more than that. I can be the smart person, but I can also be like the sexy person, but I can also be like the lit person, or I can also be quiet, but I can also talk a lot. But you know what I mean? And it feels a lot of times society wants to box you in to be this one particular thing, and that's just not, you know, not what I'm about. And he says it himself, like, it's not what he's about. And that's, you know, even to sidetrack, it comes into like YouTube and with branding, you know, you kind of have to have a particular brand, but at the same time, I'm very much like, nah, I want to do whatever I want to do. And that's my brand, is I'm gonna do what I feel like doing, you feel me? But but that's just a side note. But back onto this, yeah, he talked about that, and I just thought that was it was dope how free-spirited and just very in tune. You can see that shift in August, and you know, he still talks the same, but the way the words he was saying and the way he was expressing himself, it was just like, he just seemed so conscious and just so in tune and aligned and just balanced. You know, his energy just seemed very centered. He seemed very centered throughout the interview, and I was just like, wow, this is great, and this is dope. It seems like he's in a positive space, even though he admitted like he's still struggling with his autoimmune condition. But it just seemed like his perspective and his scope on life just seemed very, you know, aligned and very centered. It seemed like he was in he had a good energy, is what I was getting from him. He was vibrating at a high frequency. Those are the vibes that I was getting from him. The documentary, it talked about how he had been molested and everything like that, and he was just talking about it in the interview, just saying that, you know, he's not in a space where he wants to judge anybody or anything like that. He's just in a space of love. Like, that's the point in his life that he's at, is where all he has to offer is love. There's no space for any other energy, you know? And with everything that he's been through, you know, oh my goodness, like the fact that he can operate from such a space, having gone through what he's gone through, I feel like he's just gotten to the point where he's like, he's tired of all that, and he's decided to live intentionally and choose love. And that is so inspirational to me. And I was like, wow, I wish I could operate from that space, but you know, I can't even lie. I still got a little bit of other energies in me where, you know, love is not the only space that I hold, but I want to be like that and only hold space for love, and there's no other energies within me. So I found that very inspirational. But on to like the main thing is like when she asked him about Jada, my initial reaction was, bro, why are we always talking about this lady when it comes to August? Like, he has already said, well, I don't know if he said anything before, but I just was like, man, this conversation is so tired. Like, they're not going together. I'm over here defending him in my head. Like, every time the celebrities hang out, somebody wants to say that they're together. Yo, and then lo and behold, he's like, yeah, I did ask Will for permission. I said, wait, what? Yo, I was caught unawares. I had no idea. Right? Ain't nobody telling me. Why? See, y'all be picking up on signals, but I just be like, no, like, let them live. They're just doing da-da-da. You know what I mean? And I really thought that was the case. I just thought that they were close friends. You know what I mean? And it turns out that was not the case. You know, it turns out there was something there, and he really loved her. And honestly, this is such, I was talking to my brother about this. It's such a layered conversation. Okay, let's start from the first. Ooh, child. Look, it's so layered, and I can't even speak on everything because it's not even my space to speak on. You know what I mean? But just like as an outsider looking in, and as somebody who is inspired by these people, I love Jada, you know, and I love August. I'm inspired by them. Like, they inspire me. So this is not gonna be coming from a judgmental place. This is not gonna be coming from a place of, oh, this is what they're doing, like a gossipy type of vibe. No. This is just like people who inspire me and me just reflecting on their experiences, okay? So, and that goes for all my videos. But the first layer was August. It just seemed like he really loved them, and he said he loved those people, meaning that it wasn't even just Jada. Like, I guess it's the whole family. And I love that he was able to experience that love, because if you watch the documentary and just even his interviews, you know that this man has been through so much that I was just like, yes, like, I want that for you. I want you to have that love. Like, you know, I was very happy for him. But then he also talked about, you know, when it ended and how it broke him and everything that he experienced, as well as like he missed out on money, different deals and stuff. And like, it really affected him because the people were side-eyeing him based on, I guess, his relationship with Jada. And I was just like, oh man, that sucks. And then I found myself getting defensive because I feel for August. And I'm just like, like, why, you know, why didn't nobody try to stick up for him? Or why did they have to be like that? But, you know, at the same time, this is the thing. Whenever, with celebrities and stuff like that, from what I've seen on the outside, you know, there are different ranks. And like, when you reach that iconic status, like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, they're icons. So when you deal with them, when you're dealing with people on such a high scale, I feel like there's certain people where it's already been decided that they can do no wrong. Like, even if they were wrong, they're right. You know what I mean? Or even if there's a situation where it's kind of like, it's not black or white, but it's kind of gray, they're gonna be in the clear, and the other party, it's gonna reflect bad on them. So I feel like it reflected poorly on August because he didn't have that icon status. He wasn't as high level as that whole family is. So nobody understood the dynamic of the relationship. And so I was like, oh man, that sucks. But you know, it's what happens, I feel like, if you get into that type of relationship. But it was so unfortunate to me, and I felt for August. I'm like, oh man, bro, like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so sad. But you know, from their perspective, I guess when it comes to relationships and things like that, people don't want to speak on it. And obviously he didn't say anything too as well. But I did, in the interview, Angela said that he dropped a song called Nanya. And I didn't listen to that song. I'm not familiar with that. And I guess that was where people were like, yeah, no, he's definitely messing with her. But I didn't even know about that song. But I'm guessing he didn't like outrightly say anything, and she didn't outrightly say anything because they wanted to keep that private and keep that between themselves. And I wonder whether she knew about the deals he was missing out on, like the money that was coming out of his pocket because of everything going on. So, you know, these are things to consider. Like, did she know enough to know that she needed to say something to defend him? Or even if she did, is she entitled to, you know, have her own privacy and be like, I just don't want to talk. Like, I just don't want to say anything. This is not something, you know. And there comes another layer because there's so many people involved. It's not just August and Jada. it's August, Jada, Will, and the children. You know what I mean? Like, it's the whole family. That's why he said, I love them. And he even said that he sat down with Will and had a whole conversation. So I guess it was all gravy. It was all good in the hood. Like, it was cool with them. So it's so sticky. It's so sticky from that level. Now, as far as people, the speculations of like the age range, from what I understand and why I am like, okay, you know, let them do whatever they want to do, is because I'm under the understanding that they were both at consenting ages, you know? So that's my understanding. If it comes out that, you know, things were different, all right, you know what I mean? Like, but from what I understand, they were both at consenting ages. And low key, you can see, this is the nature of any relationship. Both people are going to influence each other, but in the way that August speaks, it's comparable to the rhetoric that you see when you watch the Red Table Talk. So I was kind of like, I can see the influence there. And they're also, and who's to say that that isn't August's influence on Jada? But just because Jada's more visible to us is why I was just like, could that have been Jada's impact on August? And it's positive though. It seems to be very positive, and I love that type of talk. Or maybe they grew together into that type of energy. Maybe they grew together to like find their way, and both, you know, became those type of people at the same time. But I just thought that was very interesting, because you can see if you watch the Red Table Talk and you watch that August interview, you'll see like, you'll see similarities in terms of like the way the conversation flows, the energy that they both seem to occupy. So that was interesting to me. And but onto the another layer being like the marriage of people being so many comments about, oh, like, you know, she's in a marriage but she's dating somebody else. Okay, listen. That's a marriage between two people, you feel me? And if those two people decide that's what works for them, it is what it is. That's my personal opinion. You know, I feel like, you know, I know people are gonna be like, what? Yeah, let people do what works for them. It doesn't have anything to do with us. You know what I mean? Honestly, obviously, like, we know, like, oh, well, that worked for me. You know what I mean? But if that's something that they have decided that they're gonna do, and that is how they want to see their lives go, let that be that, you know, let them have that. That's what works for them. That's what works for them. We don't know what ideals and morals and values the foundation of their marriage is built on. So we don't know what their vows meant to them. So they've decided that, and building upon that, let them do whatever they want to do. And obviously both parties were consenting, you know? So like he said, August said he sat down with Will, and he said something interesting in the interview. He said that they changed their marriage, or like, what, I don't know how he said it specifically. I don't know how he said it specifically, but he was talking about how they transitioned, Will and Jada transitioned into a life partnership. So I guess it's different. And they did also talk about their relationship on the Red Table Talk. So they're very, you know, non-traditional. They're very non-traditional off jump. So was I surprised? No, I wasn't really surprised. I wasn't really surprised. But another thing that I found interesting is that if you watch August's documentary, August used Tupac, like Tupac's, some scenes from interviews with Tupac were playing throughout the documentary. And he said he used it because a lot of the things that Tupac was saying back then are still applicable to what's going on right now, that there's been a lack of forward progression, is what August had said. And I just think it's very interesting because, you know, Jada and Tupac, you know what I mean? Like, you know, that was, you know, they knew each other and they had a friendship. So I just found it was all intertwined. It was all intertwined and very like, you know, so so yeah, I found that very interesting. But it's definitely a layered conversation, and too many layers to really go into and to really dissect. But you know, if that's the case and they were happy, it is what it is. You know, I personally am just like, oh, I just don't like that it affected August negatively. That is where my gripe is. And that's why I can't wait until Jada has said that she's gonna bring herself to Red Table Talk. I think I saw a tweet of her saying that. So I'm looking forward to her discussing it on Red Table Talk, because girl, like, I I need to know. I want to know. Obviously, it's none of our business, so they don't really have to say anything. But now it's on the table, like, I would love to get the tea. I love to find out like what was really good. But low-key, now that it's in the open, I could see it. I could see August and Jada. You know what I mean? I could just see it. I could see how they would bounce off each other and how that could work. And you know, August was even on an episode of Red Table Talk. I don't know if y'all caught that, but I did, you know, when they were talking about addiction. So, and the mom was there too. So it's just, you know what I mean? So, but all that to say that I knew, I was happy that August was able to speak his truth, and he said, if people want to shoot me or kill me for my truth, then let it be, that he's willing to die an honest man. And that's how I love August. You know, he was just on his soapbox about that, and I loved it. But the reality is that the interview was so broad, and I knew, which was when it happened, I was like, oh man, because I knew that people were gonna harp only on that. And the interview was just so much more than that. This was literally a couple minutes, if that, of an over an hour long interview. The interview was just so much broader. And you know, I've already told you some of the great key things and facts that he was spitting in this, talking about Black healing, talking about, you know, his autoimmune disease, talking about his sister and his family, like all of them, his sister and the brother, them dying, and like him having to start taking care of his sister's kids and everything like that. So it's just, I knew that this was gonna overshadow everything else that he had said in the interview. But you know what? I don't want to look at it that way. Let me just try to look at it as people might be curious because of the Jada part and watch the whole interview, because he said a lot of great things in that interview that I feel like everybody should check out. Moving on, he also talks about like taking care of his sister's kids, and I just think that's so dope and such a stand-up man to do that, you know, and to like have custody of them, or with everything, you know, with everything going on, being that his sister had died, and just taking care of them as his own. And it's inspiring to me, and just how he was talking about how like if you keep pushing your body, eventually your body's gonna be like, whew, you know. And he was talking about how those days when he slept for so long and the fire alarm going off, like, y'all definitely watch the interview, because it's more than just the Jada Pinkett Smith part, you know. There's so much more to it, and he really delves into different things. And he was even talking about how he previously had interviews with Angela, and that they knew, you know, how they've known each other for a while, and one of his previous interviews on Lip Service, how he was one of her guests and everything. And I remember, because I listened to Lip Service, and I think they had a YouTube video for that episode, and I remember him telling I think it was Stephanie, like, don't play with me, I'm a grown man, or something like that. And I was just like, whoa, you feel me? Like, it's wild. Not for kids, that podcast. So I'm just gonna put that out there. But yeah, so I loved the documentary. I loved the interview. I definitely would advise you to check it out. Let me know what you thought. Put your thoughts down below. Let me know what your favorite song is on his album. Have you listened to it? Are you not gonna listen to it? Like, what are your whole thoughts with everything going on? And yeah, I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much. Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Bye.